Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers of State, it's a pleasure to address you this afternoon on a matter of inclusivity in education. The ministers have spoken, the policymakers have spoken from yesterday and today, and we're very happy that as young people and as students, we also have an opportunity to say a few words and also to share our perspectives on what we believe should comprise an inclusive and balanced education. It is why we're very excited and happy to extend a heartfelt gratitude to the Education Relief Foundation and also to the organizers of the forum such as this one for believing that it is important to have a student's voice as an indispensable component of a platform like today. I'm fully aware that to get a forum like this doesn't come very often, where you have ministers of state coming from all over to gather in a particular place where you can speak out on matters that affect us as students. And so I intend to speak not just for myself, but for my colleagues and everyone else who is not here. I'll speak first to reflect the original understanding that we have when we talk about inclusivity. When we do talk about inclusivity in the classrooms, largely the idea is to look at students with disabilities. We try to look at creating a space to accommodate them in the way that they are not excluded. But today when we talk about inclusivity reimagined, we're trying to look beyond that fundamental tenet. We're trying to look at inclusivity in a way that suggests that we need to make it more imaginative and we need to make it more confrontational in terms of how knowledge is harnessed. I would want to look at this in three contexts, given that I'm constrained for time. So I would want to look at it in terms of what is taught, how it is taught, and who teaches it. And I would want to also say that one of the very critical things that we look at as education is the fact that the student is one indispensable component, first at the input level, second at the process level, and also at the output level. Now that's fundamentally different from if you look at any other production line, that suggests that what is put in as output or input is not exactly what comes out as output. But if you take the student, at the input level, the student is there at the admission process. At the process level, the student is indispensable to how knowledge is impacted. And also this is the same student that comes out as the output for a graduate market. And so it's very different how we look at it in terms of the value chain for how a student comes in and how he goes out. So when we want to look at inclusivity, Your Excellencies, I would beg that it's a rather different context, especially in the times that we live in. We are beginning to confront knowledge in a much different way. We no longer talk about a teacher-centered way of imparting knowledge. We talk about a student-centered way of doing it. And why do we do that? We do that because we realize that the teacher-centered way of imparting knowledge is instructional. It is one that presupposes that the teacher is a repository of all knowledge and the student is just there to receive. And today we realize that time and space has shrunk knowledge in such a way that everybody can have knowledge and to share it and to use it. And so the old ways of impacting knowledge obviously will not work in the way that we're talking about, especially if we want outcomes that are different. And clearly, we want outcomes that are different. Today, we talk about the fact that when we are out of school, we're not just competing against our fellow human beings, we're competing against robots, machines. We're competing against things that have been taught to learn and to improve themselves, things that would not sleep. And so it's fundamentally different from how education has been imagined in the past. And so this imposes a certain set of different obligations on each one of us. And we do reckon as students ourselves that we need a different mindset that is very different from what our forebears have had. And we also want to call on the ministers here to realize that the approaches that we have used in the past is no longer what can be done, especially if we want to make education very inclusive. I would want to end by sharing something that has come to me, not just for me, but also on our forums that we have discussed. We do realize that the future of work will not look like anything that we've had in the past. It's very different. It's imposing different skill sets, different competences that we need. In the past, the kind of education that we've had is one that prepared us to fit into jobs that are largely manufacturing based. And that's why I was excited when an earlier speaker spoke about decolonizing education. And it suggests that the way our colonial masters premeditated the education is not what education, the outcomes will look like tomorrow. And so I close by saying that in a UNESCO study that I read, it emphasized in the fact that education in itself will not be an answer to everything, but that it has to be embedded with humanity. Because the tomorrow that we're going to see is not one that is just filled with scientists. Because if you look at the fact that science in itself will not provide answers, all the evil that has been done in the past was perpetrated by people with knowledge. And so knowledge in itself will not answer our questions, but knowledge that emphasizes human dignity and human self-worth is what will answer our questions. Thank you very much.